Started getting a little bit of arthritis in the shoulder. And the song is called the Arthritis Blues. And I thought, maybe I've been playing that song too much. But I'd like to try it for you. The Arthritis Blues, and it was written by that same man who wrote this last one, Butch Hawes, who played a mean fiddle. His wife, Bess, Alan Lomax's sister, Bess, played the five-string banjo. And she gave Woody and me a ride in her car. And this guy that called me, he was a young fellow, only about 60 years old. He's a professor in Berkeley, I believe, called me up. He said, I remember seeing you in my mother's car when I was 1 year old, you and Woody. Oh, yeah? Okay. What are you going to do? I can't see him. Can't see him over the telephone. Now you can. You got these brainy phones. I'm sorry. Do you mind if I wear these? It's, the blinding light's getting me. The reason I wear a cowboy hat isn't because of the fact that I was an attempted cowboy at one time and hung out with some of the greatest cowboys that ever lived. I don't claim to be a cowboy. I'm not a cowboy. I'm just a wannabe cowboy, a would-be cowboy. But I've seen cowboys, and I've hung out with them. And they treated me like a brother, which I didn't deserve, perhaps. And it started right here in Washington, D.C. at the U-Line Arena. With old Bill Parks, whose wife, Mary Parks, was a lady bronc rider. They had lady bronc riders back then, riding saddle broncs. There was two of them on that SQ show. Hired me on. He says, what's your name? I says, Elliot and the Pooch. They could tell that I was a little bit shy about pronouncing that weird foreign-sounding name. We'll call you Poncho. After a beloved clown that used to drink white wine and let the bulls throw him up in the air. Never got hurt. Saw photographs of him upside down in midair with a big Brahma bull. Look it up at him. Oh, no. So they called me Poncho. He said, where are you from? I said, you North Titty. Oh, I didn't say that. They said, well, you know, it ain't where you're from that counts, it's where you're going that counts. That's what them cowboys told me. Them New Yorkers didn't tell me that. If I'd have stayed in New York City and been a nice boy like my parents wanted me to, I might have been a doctor like my father, and you would have never heard me. I might have cured you from arthritis. That's a chance. So I'm kind of glad. My next door neighbor, Captain Hinckley, was a New York harbor pilot. He had a red face, looked like a bulldog. My dad said, that man next door is a harbor pilot. Yeah, he's a sea captain. Oh, yeah. I was about 12 years old. I was thinking about joining the Boy Scouts. Oh, and then there was a thing called the Junior Blue Jackets, JBA, Junior Blue Jackets of America. They wore naval uniforms with the white boots and everything, and they marched with Springfield .3 rifles in the basement of a church. And they did all their marching commands with a southern accent. To the rail, ha! And I thought, that's so cool. And I got a Blue Jackets manual, started studying that, about boats under oars, boats under sail, gunnery, flags, Morse code, everything that a sailor needs to know when they join the Navy. They give them that book called the Blue Jackets Manual. One day, I'm 12 years old, next door neighbor, Captain Hinckley, pulls up in front of the door in a taxi cab. He's looking kind of pissed off. He's aggravated. It's 1943. I was 12 years old. I'm standing there watching the man get out of the cab. He's my next door neighbor. I'd never met him before. My dad told me about him. "What seems to be the trouble, Captain Hinckley?" says I. "Oh, I brought a Navy ship in today. Captain says I think we ought to go this way, I think we ought to go that way. Sent the captain to his room." I could tell he was really mad. I said, "I've been studying my Blue Jackets manual." "Well, yeah?" That sort of caught his ear. "Why don't you come up and see me tonight after supper? I'll show you some things." And that's how it all started. And I'd been a sailor. And then Alan Bloomquist down the road at 128 Linden Boulevard. His daddy was an old sailor man too, and he was from Sweden and had a very heavy Swedish accent. And Alan was showing me books one day when I was 10 years old, books about boats. I never knew nothing about boats or ships, and I know they still had boats and ships. I'm talking about schooners and square riggers and stuff like that. They had them then, but we didn't go around that harbor that much and didn't see them. Saw the ocean liners. He showed me these books, and his daddy, the old sailor man, walked into the room, and he says, quite sternly, if I remember this correctly, he says, "Can you name the masts in the 7-masted schooner?" What? He repeated the question. "Can you name the masts in the 7-masted schooner?" No. So he told me the answer. "Fore, main, mizzen, yeager, pusher, driver, spanker." I was hooked. And I've been a sailor ever since. Salt water's in my blood. Fore, main, mizzen, jigger, pusher, driver, spanker. Well, the guys that sailed in that schooner, there was only one 7-master ever built. It wasn't that they were impractical, it's just that a lot of those guys couldn't remember those names that night. They call it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Actually, in actual practice. But the real names for them was fore, main, mizzen, jigger, pusher, driver, spanker. Well, she was 395 feet long, built in the shipyard in Massachusetts. She was called Thomas W. Lawson, steel hull. But the bowsprit wasn't long enough to have enough headsail to bring her about, so they had to wear ship, which is very awkward for a sailing vessel to have to go around a 270-degree turn just to go about and bring the wind around to the other side in order to be able to tack or make progress to windward. But she made one trip across the Atlantic Ocean carrying case oil for the Anglo-American Oil Company. And the captain was involved in an argument with a tugboat skipper at the Scilly Isles at the entrance to the English Channel, heading up into the English Channel, arguing about the price of a tow. And while they were arguing about the price of a tow, she ran aground, and her forefoot struck a rock, and she stuck there. And I think they got everybody off okay in the lifeboat and made it into the cliffs on shore and hid out in a cave for a while until some lifeboat came around from a harbor around the other side of the island and rescued everybody. Mate got a broken arm, but the vessel sunk. She only made one trip across the Atlantic, so they didn't build any more 7-masters. They had a lot of 6-masters, though. And my brother David lived in a place in Maine where they built the first 5-master, and they built a lot of 5-masted schooners up there in Madomic, Maine. He came to my show recently in Boston. I was so tickled to see my younger brother, although he acts like he's older. He's a whole different person. You know, families.
Oh, God.
But a brilliant guy in his own room.
Oh, sorry.
Shut up and sing! Oh, yeah. That's something that Rick here told me. Rick came out to visit me one time in Calahoochee when I was living up there in a place called Mendocino, California. I call it Calahoochee because they don't really deserve to call it California anymore. But okay, I live in Calahoochee. I'll probably be there for a while longer. Did I play? Yes, Diamond Joe. There's one good song another person mentioned that he had a lot of feeling for, and this is a song that I used to love. Because I'm not a music lover. See, I started out as a music lover. I admit that. I was a music lover quite like you. Now I just play the stuff so I can buy cat food and diesel fuel. Tim Harden was a good friend of mine for a while. It was all too short. Things were starting to speed up in those days. We didn't realize how fast they were going. Now I know, and now I feel like it's too late, and we're in overdrive. Tim Harden wrote this song. Sorry, Rick, but I'm going to have to retune the guitar. Tim Harden wrote this song. I used to sing it all the time, but it was so good. I overworked it, and it